And I mean, of course, I've worked with smaller groups as well, but I just get so much out of that larger group aspect, and watching all of them and seeing them be passionate about what I've given them feels so good.
And I remember I was sitting diagonally in the back of you during Small Plates, and you were wiping tears away, and it moved me because I understand how that feels. And it is such a different experience watching your own work being expressed on stage than just performing. I mean, I love performing in other people's work. It's also a different feelings. It's like there's differences, but they're all equally satisfying. But I was moved by your being moved by having that experience. Welcome to the Dance Maker podcast, presented by Small Plates Choreography Festival. In this series, we engage in inspiring conversations with choreographers from the Small Plates Network whose work has been showcased in our performances. Small Plates Choreography Festival is an artist-centric dance performance platform designed for dance makers at all stages of their choreographic careers. We expertly curate and produce concert dance through an open application process, highlighting distinct, uncommon, and relevant short dance works and performances in several U.S. cities each year. Our goal is to be a platform for dance makers to amplify their voices and reach, and to create a lively interface between artists and audiences, exploring the creative process and the intent behind each dance. My name is Jennifer Williams, and I am a lifelong dedicated dancer and choreographer with a profound love for movement and self-expression. I earned a Master of Fine Arts in Dance Performance and Choreography from the University of Hawaii at Manoa, along with a Master's in Social Work from Texas State University. My artistic work is driven by a commitment to cultural diversity, human rights, and social justice, which serve as key sources of inspiration for my work. Currently based in Austin, Texas, I serve as the Assistant Director of Small Plates Choreography Festival, Vice President of the Board for the Kathy Dunhammer Dance Company, as well as co-producer for Austin's Dance on Film and a member of the Haven Movement Company. This podcast provides a space for dialogue with dance creators, exploring their inspirations, experiences, methodologies, and the intentions behind their work. We will engage with the choreographers of Small Plates to discuss their passion for dance, their creative approaches, and the paths they have taken in their artistic endeavors to get them to where they are today. To be a dance maker is to be a joy maker, a culture maker, and a meaning maker. Join me as we discover how choreographic work comes to life through the eyes of the artists of Small Plates, and learn where you can engage further with them and with their performances. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Dance Maker podcast for Small Plates Choreography Festival. My name is Jennifer Williams, and I have the pleasure of bringing on our special guest, Reisa DiNatale from San Antonio, Texas. Reisa was one of the choreographers that showcased her work in Cold Blood in last year's fall show in Austin, Texas at the Ground Floor Theater. She is here with us today to discuss her creative process, her work, and what her path has been like in dance for her up to this point in time. So without further ado, welcome, Reisa. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I guess I'll start talking about my process and everything, where I started with dance. I started dancing when I was 2 years old. And ever since then, I've been dancing in a studio and all of that stuff. I competed for dance for 10 years. And I really didn't know if I was going to pursue it in college. I was very iffy about it. And then both my parents were like, no, you have to keep dancing, because they were super supportive and pushed me in that direction. And I mean, I've always loved to dance, but I just didn't know if it was a realistic career path. And so I ended up at Texas State University, where I got my bachelor's in dance performance and choreography. And ever since then, I have been participating in festivals. I'm choreographing at a studio. I also teach yoga on the side because I got my certification while I was at Texas State. And I'm just having a great time being within the arts.
I was going to say, as I was reading through your bio before this, you have such a rich dance plate. Like you literally came out of the womb dancing and creating. And,
Yes.
I grew up in dance, but I didn't start creating choreographing until I was in my 20s. So it was really incredible that you started so young. And I would just love to hear more about that. Like what led you at such a young age on the road to choreography?
I definitely, all of a sudden one day I was like, wow, I really love performing, but I choreographed a piece while I was in high school. And I was like, I almost felt like I got more out of watching my own choreography than I do when I'm on stage, which was crazy because performing had always been the thing I loved. Like that was where I got all my adrenaline. And then I watched a piece perform of my own and I was like, I get the same exact feeling, if not better. Like, it's like I'm so proud of the dancers that are doing my choreography. And so then when I went to Texas State, I still wasn't sure where I wanted to go. I was like, performance is so important to me. And then I was in a company, and then we had the opportunity to choreograph more. And every time I did a group piece, which that my piece that I entered in Small Plates was a very large group, and I tend to like those more. I just really like when I can see all the moving parts. I like when I feel like more people can create a bigger storyline sometimes. And I just really like that. Sometimes certain people are just there to like almost make it a bigger production of a story. And I think that that's really fun and just important and dance. And I mean, of course, I've worked with smaller groups as well, but I just get so much out of that larger group aspect and watching all of them and seeing them be passionate about what I've given them feels so good.
Yeah, I'm not gonna, well, I am gonna call you out, but you were talking about how you love to watch your piece. And I
Yes.
remember I was sitting diagonally in the back of you,
Yes.
during Small Plates, and you were wiping tears away. And it moved me because I understand how that feels. And it
Mhm.
is such a different experience watching your own work being
Yes.
expressed on stage than just
Mhm.
performing. I mean, I love performing
Yes.
in other people's work. It's also a different
Yes.
feeling. It's like there's differences, but they're all
Mhm.
equally satisfying. But yes, something it just I was moved by your being moved by having that
Yes.
experience. And I mean, in cold, I was so excited to be able to interview you today because that
Thank
was such an
you.
incredible piece. I mean,
Thank you.
so powerful. And I mean, we can just kind of slide right into talking about
Yeah.
that. Like, what was there, like 20 people?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
The amount of people you had in that piece, and it was so seamless. There's so many details that go into creating work with like with a
Yes.
lot of dancers. And it was seamless. It flowed. There were so many details. There was so much going on, but it just was orchestrated so beautifully. And I would
Thank
love
you
to
so
hear,
much.
before we get into watching it, just, if you could tease us what inspired that piece and how did you
Yeah.
work with so many dancers?
So first, when I listened to that song, the In Cold Blood song, if that's the title of the music, and I was listening to it and I was like, this needs like a giant group was my initial thought. And when I first started choreographing it, I'm very much so I like thinking about the storyline and then how the formations can kind of be added to a
Mm.
storyline. And I knew I wanted such a big group, so I really had to almost compartmentalize the people that I wanted to be certain characters. And I didn't want anyone to necessarily be like that standout person, but I did end up kind of having a character who's actually one of my best friends. Her name's Alexandria Turley, but she kind of played that like main character of like, she was kind of the person that maybe was the cold-blooded person of the piece. And I kind of wanted to just explore like I guess the selfishness of human nature and just like how sometimes you can form relationships and that person can just kind of turn their back on you, but there's all these other people around that could also hold you up and support you and that kind of thing. But it ended up kind of being that like the moral of the story at the end was that like the selfish person kind of won against the person that was kind of trying to break away from that scenario. And that was just in that piece, of course. But I definitely just wanted to explore that as much as I possibly could. And that's why there was a lot of lifts between my main girl and then a couple other people where she kind of would like drop them on the floor. And it was kind of showing like, yeah, she's supporting you, but is she really? She's kind of letting you go whenever she doesn't feel like helping you and that kind of stuff. So I just really I used a lot of the musicality. I used a lot of the different groups to kind of show different concepts within the piece. But it was definitely not an easy process. It's definitely a lot. My brain goes crazy. I get so excited to give them the choreography because I'm like, I need to get this part out of my brain so I can focus
Mhm.
on this part because there's so much stuff going on in my head. And I definitely try to always tailor to the dancers I know I have. So that way I'm like giving them parts that I know that they'll be so great doing because I know most of the dancers that I had worked with before. And if I hadn't, I had watched a lot of videos of them dancing previously
I love
because
it.
I wanted to make sure that everyone had their part or had something that they could definitely do. Just because even though it's such a large group, I still wanted everyone to have a moment where they felt at least that they stood out at some point because I know it's easy to get lost in the crowd of all the people on stage. And I never want anyone in my pieces to feel like, oh, I'm just a background dancer because that's not true. I don't consider anyone to be an ensemble person. I want everyone to have that experience in the front. So
You succeeded in that. And, the other
thank
thing I
you.
love is it wasn't a warm and fuzzy piece. It didn't end
Yes.
in rainbows like we all
Mhm.
want things to end in. It was very realistic.
Yes.
And I actually love that you were like,
Mhm.
yeah, the selfish person won in the end. It's just real life, it's reality. Do you choreograph in a linear way, or do you have chunks, or do you how do your visions play a part in completing your work?
I normally, depending on the music, depending on the group, with this one specifically, I did end up kind of choreographing linear, like in a linear line, just because for this specific thing, when I turned in the piece, we actually only had 2 rehearsals before I needed to record it and submit it, just because it's such a
Oh,
large
wow.
group, couldn't get everyone together. So it ended up being 2 3-hour rehearsals, and then we recorded on the second day, which was crazy. Those dancers really, really pulled through for me. The passion, the dedication, everything about them. Like, I can't even begin to thank them enough. But they came in, I taught it as if I was at a dance convention. And I didn't have all the choreography ready. So I would be like, you guys go get water. I'll come back in 15 minutes with more choreography. So it ended up kind of being more of a linear process, which is very rare for me because I normally choreograph much more sporadically. But it ended up kind of being I came with like the first minute and a half ready, and then I kind of wanted to see how they could do. And then I ended up having them stand in formations, and I was like writing names down so I could figure out where they needed to go next. It was honestly the most fun process I've ever had choreographing a
Wow.
dance because I honestly didn't have the time to plan. So it was like, here it all is. And I kind of just felt like I like word vomited and movement and all this stuff. And they were just like, okay, I'll do it. Got it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. And then of course we had rehearsals before actually performing. Even then, it was like months since they had done the choreography,
Mhm.
and they all came remembering it, knowing it, and I was like, "These are the best dancers I could have ever
Oh,
asked for."
they really were. It was their
Mhm.
energy. I remember when you guys came into the theater, they were just
Yeah.
buzzed to be there.
Yes.
And it was inspiring to me because,
Mhm.
you know, we're all this is what we're here for. And you could tell that they
Yes.
were excited, they were dedicated, and
Mhm.
they were passionate and ready to go.
Yeah.
I mean, it was such a satisfying experience for me to get to work
Thank
with all of
you.
you. So,
Yeah, that means a lot to me, and I'm
oh,
sure to them as well. They would love
yeah.
to hear that.
Please tell them. We
I
miss them.
absolutely will. Yes.
Well, let's slide into watching it, and we'll
Perfect.
come back and discuss, what it was like to watch it after all this time.
Sounds great, yeah.
Are you enjoying the Dance Maker podcast? Please share it on your social media channels. Like, subscribe, leave a review, do all the things to help us reach more dance makers, dance enthusiasts, and audiences. If you're interested in Small Plates Choreography Festival, there are many ways to get involved with our shows. You can apply to present work. You can support us by coming to one of our performances or watching a live stream. And you can also support us financially. Small Plates is fiscally sponsored by Fractured Atlas, and so your support is tax deductible. Please check our website, smallplatesdance.com, for open applications, links to purchase tickets, and to donate. Be sure to join our email list to receive notices about new podcast episodes, application deadline reminders, and announcements about new shows and events. See you at Small Plates.
Okay, so I get goosebumps every time I see that, and they're in different spots. So it's because there's just so much going on, and I always see
Yes.
something so different every time. So how was that watching it after all this time?
It's amazing watching it back. Every single time I watch it, first of all, I could see myself at the bottom of the screen, like, watching it, and I can see myself moving along to the
Aw.
dance just because 'cause I'm like, I was so immersed in that moment. And I mean, like you said, I got very emotional after watching it, and I honestly did not know that was gonna happen. I mean,
Mhm.
I got nervous, of course, before they went on to perform, and watching it back now, it's like I know I was so nervous in that moment, and I had nothing to be nervous about. I knew they were gonna do great, but of course, you're just naturally nervous. It's like
Mhm.
you're about to go on to perform. And I remember I texted them in my group chat with them immediately afterwards, and I was like, "I'm literally crying. That was amazing." And they were all so happy with how they did, and I was so happy that they were happy because my main thing I always say whenever my dancers perform anything, I want them to feel like they did their best. And I mean, of course, I had girls come up to me like, "I'm so sorry I messed up this part." And I'm like, "No one noticed and no one cared." Because it's such a big group piece. It honestly doesn't matter if one person does something different. There's a ton of times where there's a solo
Mhm.
moment. They could have just had their own little solo moment there. They added in oh, without even meaning to. So that mean that I just loved watching it back. That was amazing, definitely.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's so funny as a performer. I've had so many conversations. We're the only ones on stage beside the choreographer who knows if a
Yeah.
mistake was made. It's like,
Exactly,
but as an
exactly.
artist, we just crucify ourselves when that happens.
Yes, absolutely.
But in the end, it's really hard to explain as an artist just what
Yes.
we go through as
Mhm.
choreographers, as performance
Yes.
artists, like dancers, and then as an audience member, being those things, our experience is
Yes.
totally different.
Absolutely, yes.
I'm so excited that for you and your
Thank
future,
you.
because Reese, you're just so talented. You have so much to
Thank
offer
you.
in the world of dance. And I mean, how old are you?
I'm 22.
Oh my God. That's so inspiring. Like, I'm very
Thank
excited
you.
for your future and where
Thank
this is going to
you.
take you. I mean, what are your goals from here? Like, what little daydreams
Yeah.
do you have that you're working on?
I mean, my main goal, I guess, is to just continue performing in festivals, like having my pieces perform in festivals. Right now, I'm choreographing with a studio that does competitions and stuff like that. And I honestly said that this year, it's really funny, it just happened. But I said this year when I started working at the studio, I was like, my main goal is for one of my pieces at competition to win a choreography award. And it happened last competition we were at. And I was like, that made me feel really good just because I honestly didn't know if my choreography would match the competition scene now
Mhm.
because I haven't been in the competition scene in years. But I would say that my main goal is definitely just to continue choreographing. I would love to travel and choreograph a little bit more. I've done a little bit of choreography for dance team, which I wouldn't mind to continue doing that because they're big groups and I love that. It's just been really fun starting this. I mean, I don't know if you guys knew this, but y'all were my first festival with, like, my own group choreography, coming out of college, so that was amazing,
Oh,
and a lot of the
wow.
girls
I'm
that
so
performed had never
honored.
done it. Yeah.
Thank you
I
so
was
much for
when I got your
applying.
email, like, saying I was accepted, that was, like, the best day ever, and I texted the group chat, like, saying, like, "The piece made it in," and they were all like, "Oh my gosh." And because none of them had performed in festivals either. The only other festivals I had done was, actually with Alexandria Turley, the one in my piece. Me and her have done duets together, and we enter, like, those in festivals sometimes too. So that was the only time that I had performed in a festival. So this was my first time with a group choreography there that I had done myself, and it was amazing. The best
Wow.
experience for sure. That's
Well,
why we were
thank
all
you.
so just happy to be there.
No, and thank we were happy too. Like, my brother flew in from California for the show, and he was like, "God, that opening piece just raised the roof!" Like, it was.
Thank you so
I'm like,
much. Oh
"Yeah,
my
it
gosh. Thank you.
did."
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it was.
absolutely that was the best experience ever for us. So,
Yeah, I mean, you and your dance, such maturity. So, I mean, it's
thank
just,
you.
and sometimes it can be pretty hard to choreograph to
Mhm.
lyrical
Yes.
compositions. Like, it's
Yeah.
I almost didn't even pay attention to the lyrics in the song. It's like they were the background, like, because the movement itself was so powerful. And
Thank
it just
you.
kind of led me through the storyline, you know, as I was watching the piece. So, I mean, you're incredibly talented. You have such a gift, and I'm really excited to see what you're going to do next. Like, it's
yes, me too.
and feel free to apply in the future.
Yes, I plan on it.
We love you.
I do plan on applying this time.
Yay! Oh my goodness! I
always see your application thing, and I'm ready to apply.
Yay! Bring it. Yes. Well, Reisa, I am so glad we got to meet today. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and I look forward to seeing what you're going to do in the future, because I know it's just going to be great things. And, you know, the dance community is very small all over the world.
Absolutely.
And no doubt, you know, our paths are going to cross. And, you know, in the state of Texas, we're just also so supportive. You know, we have so many festivals going on, and we're just very lucky here, you know, I think, like, because not every state has that. So I am sure I will be seeing you around somewhere.
Yes, definitely. I hope so. Absolutely.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Dance Maker podcast, sponsored by Small Plates Choreography Festival. Be sure to support this podcast by liking, subscribing, and sharing with a friend or on your social media channels, or by leaving us a review. That really helps us expand our reach. To learn more about Small Plates Choreography Festival, please visit our website, www.smallplatesdance.com, where you can apply to be one of our performances. Be sure to also sign up for our newsletter and be the first to hear about new shows, get reminders about application deadlines, and of course, we will also let you know each time a new podcast episode drops. We rely on your financial support. If you would like to support Small Plates with a tax-deductible donation, please donate through our fiscal sponsor, Fractured Atlas. The link to donate can be found on our website and in the show notes for this podcast. Until next time, fellow dance makers, happy creating.